Hi, I am Kate Holbrook, and this is my daughter, Amelia Holbrook Brown, and we share a talent. We like to develop and cook and bake recipes. So today we're going to share with you a recipe for something that is unusual and easy and very delicious.
It's called chocolate pudding cake, and it's a historic recipe. And while we love our history, sometimes historic recipes don't taste very good anymore. So we've done our tweaking, we've done our research, looked at a lot of different recipes. Mom especially has put things together and developed what we think to be the perfect chocolate pudding cake.
So we hope you'll enjoy. One of my favorite tricks is when a recipe calls for melted butter, to melt it in the pan that I'm going to be using to bake. And then it greases the pan at the same time that it melts the butter. So that's what I've done here. And now I'm mixing the butter in with buttermilk, vanilla, and eggs. And now this pan is nicely greased. I'm going to pour my buttermilk, vanilla, eggs, and butter into the dry ingredients, which are cocoa, flour, white sugar, baking soda, salt. We actually have a recipe blog, so if you wanted to make this, if you visited the Away Cafe, so www.theawaycafe.com, the chocolate pudding cake recipe is available there. So now I'm just going to mix this. We like to get our cocoa powder from Penzeys. We get our spices from Penzeys too, and our hot cocoa mix. They have a really good mix, and they have good prices. They're not as cheap as Hershey's cocoa, which is a fine option for natural cocoa powder, but otherwise they're competitive with some of the higher quality cocoas. It's important to use natural cocoa in this recipe because of the way it interacts with the buttermilk and the baking soda. So often we like Dutch processed cocoa in our baked goods, but for this one, we like to have natural cocoa. We find that the flavor works best with the other ingredients. Okay, this is mixed. You don't need to use a mixer or mix it to death. And now I'm going to add chocolate chips, and this is a little more chocolate chips than we need. So I'm going to leave a few in the dish there, and then mix this up again. And this will be the cake batter. This will be the portion that looks like cake when this comes out of the oven. Our chocolate chips are actually not technically chocolate chips, although they look like it. They're made by Calibote, a Belgian chocolatier. They're available online. We buy them in 22-pound bags from Baker's Cash and Carry, which is downtown by Intermountain Hospital. They have them at Orson Gygi and a few other places around town. And if you do the math, when you buy them in bulk like this, you get such a superior bittersweet chocolate flavor, and they're only about 50 cents or $1 more than just regular old Nestle or other chocolate chips that you'd buy in the grocery store. And for us, because we care so much about chocolate, it's worth it to spend, 50 cents or $1 more per recipe to really get the chocolate flavor that we love. Okay, Amelia.
All right, so I made a mistake. You're supposed to pour the brown sugar and natural cocoa powder over before you pour in the milk. So ignore the white stuff.
This is a fun part for kids to participate in because it's unusual and kind of messy.
Next comes the milk. And this is a half cup of boiling water. We had some water boiling in a tea kettle. This is extra important to the creamy texture. Okay, now we're ready to bake.
And you make sure you don't stir it at this point. That's really important. Even though that looks really strange, you just put it in the oven.
We baked this in a 350-degree oven for 38 minutes and let it rest for 15.
I was just telling Amelia how last time I made this, I was thinking about work at the same time, and I started pouring the wrong liquid over the dry ingredients in the middle of it, and it turned out delicious. It's a very forgiving recipe.
Yeah, I felt very affirmed by it.
So here we are. It's hot from the oven. This tastes good for several days after baking and at room temperature, but chocolate is always particularly good when it's warm. So apparently I'm going to try it.
Oh.
Here we go. We love this dessert. The gooiness and the cakiness, and the thing the boiling water does is add just a little bit of chew when it mixes with the sugar. So good. And you can eat it hot because the ice cream cools it down.
Yeah.
Thanks for joining us.